I want you to look at history. This is history. When any time a band stays together longer than 5 years, when a band stays together 10 years, it's a long time. This is a band that's sold over 7 million records, has played over 4,000 shows, and has been together now 23 years. This is a part of history, and we're going to let Little Texas start by singing a little bit off the top. Not do that, just to show them that you actually still can sing.
No wonder why we're tired. Here's some history. We're going to do what we do last first. If you hadn't heard this song, you probably haven't heard of Little Texas.
Start. Well, just give them a little background.
Well, let's see. I guess the quickest, most concise. We all met up here in Nashville. We have two Belmont alumni, long-time attendees. We all met up here in Nashville. My roommate's
Dwayne and Dill are
this is
We're
Dwayne Pro.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. What year did you graduate? Graduate.
How about when we started? Porter got here in 83, right?
83.
And I came in 85 and stayed through most of 87, of 88.
The one of that we both played for the now non-existent, I guess, Belmont Reasons.
Yep.
We met through. We met. It's long. It's hard to do this version, but
Yeah, it's hard. Go
in
ahead.
a nutshell, we met by twos,
Mhm.
and two of the original members are not with us anymore. So we are still together, the core, the four of us, for that long. He came with one guy, Dwayne and I came together, and Dale came with the other, not here. And we were all, doing the same kind of thing that y'all probably are. We were coming to Nashville to do whatever. I wanted to be a studio player, or, I remember telling my mom, there's no way I'm going to get in a band and try to make it. That's not what I want to do. So 3 years later, I quit school to be in a band and try to make it. We all met either here or at Opryland, which is also defunct, which is a shame because it was a great way to meet people and get going. And so it's basically six like-minded young guys, all average age of 24, just met and said, you want to do this? And not only, I always tell people that not only meeting the other three, Belmont and Opryland, we met the people that we worked with that had internships at places like Warner Brothers. And so two very young, like mailroom kind of guys at Warner Brothers that were just getting moved into A&R positions said, I know a band. They don't even know it yet, but I know these guys. And so just through knowing each other and knowing them, when we started, we had a development deal on Warner Brothers.
There's two things that when you read through your history, it's kind of interesting is the problem with, at the time, you didn't consider it a problem, but Little Texas has been a little of a battle, not just full of hit songs and the problems of normal problems, but there's a lot of people in Nashville that didn't take to the name.
No,
To any of it.
and what's fun, people ask us all the time, where'd you get the name Little Texas? Shouldn't it be Big Texas? Texas, big Texas, gotta be big. Thousands, find a nickel. Okay, Little Texas is actually right here, just south of, south of Franklin, just a little bit. And it's basically, it's just a holler, if you know what a holler is, okay? Just holler back in there, and it was, in the late teens, 20s, 30s of the last century, it was kind of a lawless little area. If you were a bootlegger, car thieving, horse thieving, then you were kind of on the lam from the law. You hid out in this area. Right? So the sheriff quit going in there. It says wild like Texas because they wore gun belts, shotguns on their shoulders, okay, and all that, and they had gun battles out there. And the locals were as we got to.
Which made us like that idea.
Yeah.
There was actually a lady that came by the house today to hear all the noise, what was going on. And she started telling us a story about during Prohibition that her grandmother had shot a revenuer so full of lead that it took 10 men to carry him out of Little Texas. And we were like, that's cool.
Because that's where our first little practice house was out in the middle of nowhere out there.
So why the problem? Was it just?
It's one of those things where and we talk about, hey, I actually see a lot of students, and that's good. I see more of you now than in class. What's the deal? Taking that personal. Because we talk about this. We talk about how, you need to get things all squared away because things just evolve. Things just happen organically. There was that name. We passed that sign on that little road every day, and we said, Little Texas. It just became us. So we just adopted that name. And it was our name, but it just then... Later on, when you were talking about the natural life cycle of bands and things, we've gotten along remarkably well for the guys most of the time in a 45-foot long aluminum tube called a Prevost bus. But still, success has 1,000 fathers and failures in order. You ever heard that? When cracks start to arise, then there's different visions of how to move forward and things. And so when we had done our, up to that time, our best work, plus we were just worn out. We did, how many years in a row, Dale? 300 plus shows a year.
About 3 or 4, yeah.
3 or 4, 300 plus shows a year. We would be gone for 6 weeks at a time.
That's tough.
And so, you know, with those kinds of things and different things,
Raising
then
families, that's tough.
then as people see different visions of the future, and then people want to carry on, and then there comes the, you know, well, who owns this name anyway? You know, which, see, on the way up and everything's happening and everything's really cool, you don't about little things like that.
Who does own the name?
We do.
We do. Now.
Four of
Yeah.
them. So there was a problem, that one of the original,
Yeah, when we went to put it back together, we broke up in '98 because of all he's saying. When we went to put it back together in '04, one of the original guys that didn't want to do it with us, didn't want us doing it either. He had a deal on Lyric Street at the time, about to come out. Didn't want to have to answer the questions, just didn't want to compete with us going out as an entity too. Because we didn't get it squared away, writing who owns it, who does what, this happens. Because that's like, it's hard to talk about. It's like getting married and say, okay, when we divorce, you know, who gets the jack or whatever,
It's
right?
the record
You get
collection.
going. So you tend not to want to do those things. So it wasn't clear cut. What it turned out to be in a nutshell was that the 6 guys in the corporation, when we called it quits, were going to be legal owners of the name. So he wanted to be compensated, and we worked out of court to come up with what that meant, which to us wasn't much when it came down to we're going to pay him so much. Instead of a percent, we just bought him out, and now we own the name. That's that.
yeah.
So no matter what happens from now on, anybody else that was in it is out as far as ownership.
Who wrote God Bless?
I did with the former keyboard player.
So, and you are publishing?
I didn't because of the deal that we did right at first. I
Right,
do own
yeah.
all my writers and all that.
Oh, I mean, that's.
And then we went retro back to the next record and got
Right.
co-pub once we proved ourselves and all that.
That's an interesting twist, that not every group gets to own their music. And
Well, I think one thing that happened with us is the label never thought we were going to. I mean, we would come in and we would move furniture for like the label head, and we would see people sneaking by and going, "Oh, let's don't talk to them." And what happened is, just as a favor to one of our producers, they put out a single, and the single ended up going top 5. And they said, "Where's your album?" Well, we don't have an album. So we actually didn't sign our record deal, our first record deal, till we were in making the Big Time album. And so by that time, the First Time album had gone gold. So it was very nice leverage for a record deal.
Great.
And
Those negotiations are a ball.
at the time,
Not going to go for that, huh? Where's that single at this week?
yeah.
Really?
Our first-
Top what?
Yeah,
What
our
was that
first
you're
album
saying?
didn't come out until our 3rd single. So think of all the album sales, and our first single peaked in December. Think of all the album sales that we lost out on. Now, eventually.
They put out the first single to basically teach the guy who was barely
Yeah.
out of Belmont, you know,
Like,
what
hey, this isn't going to work.
what the big leagues were about,
Yeah.
and it went top 10, and then they turned around and said, "We're genius. Let's, we're geniuses. Where's the rest of it?"
what was the follow-up like? I mean, I noticed that with a lot of bands, and I look at the history of most pop groups, almost the person who sang the first record becomes the singer on the records because he has the most radio-friendly voice to the record company. You have 4 very, really good singers in this group. How does that work?
In the original lineup, I'm singing lead now, and Dwayne and I wrote a lot of the material, so we were a big part of the, forming of the band and the sound and everything. But we would write a song and then show it to a guy, who didn't write. And I was not allowed a microphone back then. Because whatever part they gave me, I would forget. So I literally did the microphone, even though I sang and sing lead now. So it's deep with singers, and even during run, our lead singer sang most of it. Keyboard player had a huge hit, which caused him to leave. That's another story.
We had three different singers on three different charts.
Yeah.
At one
And
time, yeah.
Dwayne sang an Eagles thing that was on a tribute record that did really well. So he got a lot of airplay on that. So back then, man, it was hard. Like you said, we had to pick a singer at first.
Yeah.
And he was the front man too. He was a voice and the carnival barker and the kind of the rock and roll front man that we wanted. So it worked. But there was just know kind of what Lady Element's doing now and the depth of radio gets a hold of whoever that is.
Yeah.
That's who was your singer.
Not only that, but who's
it's
out front of it
nuts.
because of we're a vocal band. When you're messing with that vocal stack, so you change the sound completely because everybody's on their place. So there's that to think about. It's like if so and so steps up to the mic to sing the lead on this, then we've got to play Tetris and figure out who's going to cover what parts. And
Yeah, I was going to ask you, how do you sort of make that, is who writes the song sort of becomes the voice of the song, and then you put your parts around him? Or?
Not really. These days, Dwayne will sing, but I sing the line like 80% probably. So like the last record we did, I think we did one. So maybe we'll let you do 3.
I'm George.
He sang on the radio like the God Bless Texas. He sings the low part and he sings the high part, and that's been the stack on everything.
Right,
It's
right.
great because then you have a lot of strength that we're.
It has a familiarity
Right.
to it.
His voice, if you don't put his clear tenor voice up above whoever's singing lead, it doesn't sound like us.
Would you sing another song for us?
Yeah, sure. Which one is?
You do remind me.
Yeah, let's do it.
I'm going to save that for last.
Closing.
Since we've already played closing.
This is a.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead. Oh, you do. He does the spiel good.
This is an example of what we're doing now. The 3 of us, Dell, me and Dwayne, we were in a little bitty town in Mississippi playing a bike rally, and there wasn't enough room to move in this town. It's Sturgis down below Oxford. Sturgis, Mississippi. And we ate, let us eat, they fed us at the great with Southern food and the iced tea and the greasy burgers and all that, and it took forever. It took like 2 hours. We were thinking, riding on the golf court, back going 2 miles an hour, going the thing. He said something, you can't get in a hurry here. And probably over half the things we've written through the years have happened like that. Somebody says something and we all just give each other that look and write that down. Let's put that in your phone. Let's write that down.
Fix that in tangible form, would you, please?
So, fresh off his Vanderbilt writing classes, this is one of the most poetic, I think this is some of the coolest writing that we've done, and he did a lot. It's called You Can't Get in a Hurry Here. Sweet Virginia diner is a lot like this old town. It's kind of small and out of the way. Worth it once you settle down. Get your cold drink, your warm smile, and get out of the heat while you stop in to say hey, and end up spending all day. 'Cause you can't get in a hurry here, no. Around these parts, don't you know the days pass, the dewdrops running out the tea glass, like the fan they turn and slowly around above a Sunday church. Life goes by in a lower gear. No, you can't get in a hurry here. It's been talk for years now about bringing through 4-lane, but every time we voted down, say appreciated your thing, but our main streets and our dirt roads take you anywhere you wanna go. A nice easy place, just like we were raised. 'Cause you can't get in a hurry here, no. 'Cause the best things in life are worth waiting on, like a cane pole bobber on a still pond. The first rain falling on a fresh planted field, knowing all it will yield. Giving thanks for it every day. You can't get in a hurry here.
start stalking. Oh, the days pass like the dewdrops running down the tea glass, like the fan blade turns slowly around above the Sunday church crowd. Goes by here. No, you can't get in a hurry here.
You're still doing 90, 100 shows a year. You have management now. I mean, or do you
I'm actually
pretty much-
self-managed. We decided between the four of us, we could scrape one decent management brain together.
Well, if the Stones can self-manage, so can we.
So what's that like? A show offer comes in and you talk it over?
Yeah.
Well, we just dive on it.
There's a magic number,
Right.
and the magic number is phoned in and it's booked. Yeah.
Make it work. And then advancing the date.
I do a lot of advancing, and then I mean, we all kind of have our jobs that we do.
We
so
do have a
it's the, you
we
know,
have
the
a
best
fun
thing
house.
is the four of us are great businessmen together. We can sit and, you know, of course, there's always going to be differences, but we're mature enough, and we all have the same goals in mind to work everything out. So.
With music like that, you would think with your history, with your backlog of hits and everything that goes along with that, that it wouldn't be hard to put together. I mean, the song sounds competitive. I would imagine you all have pretty good ears for hit, music. Where's the deal? I mean, where's the problem?
Not allowed to talk. This one.
The deal is out there somewhere in space, I think.
I don't know. I think.
Oh, Porter, come on.
See, fortunately, we do have those hits that are still out there. I mean, hopefully, on country radio, we're still on a recurrent list that 3 or 4 of our songs will play, several times a day, which is a great thing. Until you have a new thing that you take to radio and say, we'd like you to play this new thing. And they say, oh, which one of your old things would you like us to not play anymore? Because we're already playing it 3 or 4. And only right now, typically, a 20-song playlist at most, which is very, very, very difficult to, especially, a program director, the stacks and stacks of music on the desk, the phone calls they get every day. They're looking for any excuse whatsoever to pass on something, to say no. And, we kind of are too convenient to say, hey, we're already playing you, thank you, appreciate it.
Yeah.
Not that original voice. We would hear all of that. We actually tried in 2007, and I was very proud of the way we did it. We did it, 5 years before we had this independent deal that we went to with. At that deal, we're all working at Sony. We called it Sony Light. It was Montage Radio. It was all industry pros behind the Dixie Chicks, A&R promotion behind Martina McBride and on and on. Mike Wilson, who's still working in the business. And so it was great. It was the best shot I think we could have had at the time. We did the radio thing. We got in a bus. We went to 60 stations. And this is the most polite way, the route I figured out why he was and we did it. And he's right. There's this CDs like this, the corporate radio, the evil word here. It's that, and for them, I wouldn't run them down. If you, it's unbelievable. It was huge overnight. You got the money's higher than it was when we were in, and all that. The exposure's incredible, but to get it, it's just so narrow now. The lists have gotten smaller and smaller and smaller. The stations are owned by 2 or 3 giant companies. So if you're in, and you're not, you're not. And I got on, just as a way to answer this question, I got on CMT's website a couple years ago, and I looked at when we were doing our record deal to see what chances we had, And I counted over 105, and was just counting getting up steam of acts that are, you know, same kind of platinum status, all that were on the radio with us that will not be on country radio again. You can go from Winona to Pam Tillis and on and on down, and we just have time with the way that they see it. And I love the question because we hear it so much because it seems like it just makes so much sense. So why not?
Yeah,
And
been
it
a
just
band
doesn't
forever,
work that way.
Music's still viable. Why don't you get played?
Yeah, you got the experience. You got just
Well,
stuff out there is the short. That's the short answer.
you know, a song is never, like we were saying, a song is never earned. You get a hit song now, you get top 5 or number 1. But it costs probably that much or more to get a hit song. And promotion costs, I think the competition is just so great. Plus, for new acts, you're expected. See, we can't do the new act thing because we just know better. I mean, but the new act thing, which is to go, you know, they'll ask you, well, can I play the free radio show, you know, in exchange for hopefully we'll like you more and maybe get that song. So it's a combination of needing the deep pockets that labels can do to be able to promote, to be able to support a band through tour support that's doing that.
Did 60 free shows, barbecues for nothing, and then got a that's got 32. You know, so we blew some markets that we could go in and play based on our success. That, you know, doing all that. And at the end, we all shook hands and said, "Great, that was fun." You know, drove around again, saw all of our old friends.
Yeah.
They were all nice to us. Just, you know.
Oh man! Can I tell them the way we saw it change? Because they'll remember this. The way when we were right on the cusp. We saw radio change from a ma and pa kind of. You know what I'm saying? When I say ma and pa kind of market. You know, individually owned, town had its own radios. You could actually call a radio station, talk to human beings, request songs and things. Right? We saw that.
Fiercely competitive with
And
the
be
other
friends with
country
them.
stations.
With them.
Yeah.
And we'd go by the
Call it
station. You know, we're doing a show. We go by the station. It's the guy in the flowered Hawaiian shirt. You know, hey guys, come in. You know,
With your
and they're
artwork.
actually doing commercials on. Hey, where's the record? Give me the record. Hey, you know, doing the local commercials and stuff. And which song is it? Yeah, we'll put it on. We have relationships with these people. And man, the last time we went out on the radio tour, and the little radio station used to be the forlorn little building, little brick, you know, building on the edge of town, weeds, and you only knew it by the antenna that was going up, and it had one little station. Well, now you pull up to the station, and it's in an office park.
There's 4 buses sitting outside.
4 buses are sitting
Different
outside.
stations.
Yeah, and it's just gorgeous. And you've got like 4 or 5 different station identifiers that are on the same building. What they've done through consolidation is it's not individual stations now. One company owns a bunch of stations, and so you're met now in the lobby by, you know, the coolest guy, you know, the coolest suit at the office, you know Ted or something, you know, meet you, you know, so you're the band, follow me, and you have to get IDs made. If you have to get
Driver's
IDs
license,
made,
too.
driver's license, IDs, blood, you know, and then you say, follow me, please, you know, does the and shh, the door opens, and you go in. And we're used to talk to jocks, right? Talk to the jock. Hey, what's going on? How's the state? You know, yeah. It's like your Belmont tour. You know, they're talking at the end. So we're going back, and he's like, no, we don't. You know, why? Because we're going through
Sales department.
Every
sales.
format,
We're
yeah.
going through the power quadrant of the station, which is the sales department. You know, and lots of people on. Now look, this is important to do because that's where radio makes its money. You know, they don't really make their money off the music, right? They make their money off the ads. So anyone talk in there, and then we get back to the one hallway where all the stations were, and one side to the other was stations and stuff, and then we went in with our CD. How passe is that? They don't even have a CD player in the building. So, you know, it's all piped in. So anyway, we saw that change. So radio's changed a little bit. It's still a great thing, but you know, there's so many other ways to get the word out now other than radio. It's not just radio.
And that's what you do together.
Any songwriters in here, singers, songwriters, raise your hand. Don't be afraid.
Yeah.
Any questions?
She'll see.
I want a question from somebody out here who's a writer.
If not radio.
That's a great question.
Make a
That's
song.
if we could figure that one out, I wouldn't be so
Well,
happy.
no, I mean, radio's still big. It's still a big player. There's no, you know what? It's not just the radio airplay. It's so much now is tied to the live show, like with 360 deals and things. So, and it seems like promoters, for the most part, still predominantly speak radio. You know what I mean by that? Well, how many hits have they had, and how many? So that drives the price of a live show. So it's still a big player.
For us, if radio how is a tough deal because we had radio and we're older and it's likely to get in a van. We need our bus. We have to meet that magic number he was talking about earlier.
Yeah.
You know,
Magic numbers.
But for younger guys, it's happened. Texas is a great model.
Yeah.
You know, if you're asking for yourself, how
Mhm.
there's markets that still do it like what you think would be done. You know, you build a following locally, the internet blows up. Colt Ford is a non-Texan that's a good example that's been able to do it without radio. But it's tough. It's a tough man's game. The easiest still would be to come, get in one of these offices around here, tell them, you know, to say, "You're chosen, here you go, here's your hat, here's your thing, bang, radio, pow." Not even that's not a guarantee, but that's still king, you know, because the other is really hard.
Playing live creates downloads.
Right.
Downloads create publishing.
Now, yeah.
And even minimally, artist royalties must play a little
Yeah.
part in that, right?
Yeah.
I mean, the newer records, do you own those? I mean, the
Yes.
master
Yeah.
recordings. So you're getting 50 cents off a download instead of, 11 or whatever it is. The realistic thing is survival. There is a survival aspect at a certain time in your career. I mean, for hopefully for the young singer-songwriter here, it'll be 23 years. Probably not, but 3 years maybe. And in that 3 years, you've got to do a lot of strategic planning, which a lot of us weren't, and I put myself into this because their story is not unlike most of the acts I grew up with. At a certain point, radio just, you're an oldies act, you were a phenomenon once, and so forth.
If you think about, well, the Cars released a record last year. They're
Yes.
not going to get played on modern radio. You know, and they're old most fans want to hear, my best friend's. Yeah. And something new is just hard to pop that, One of the things, to me, you always do the work. You always make music. You never know what song's going to get taken for a movie. We still have friends. We play in front of people. Trace Atkins may say, "Yeah, that hurry here, man. I like that." And then bang, we get money as songwriters. It's still something you do.
So that necessary goal is to remain somewhat of a nice guy still, that you're blowing your chances by, on the truth sometimes at an interview. And I know they turn to Dale a lot because he's had his bouts with interviewers. And you get a little frustrated. The music business today, you feel like you're still touring with a lot of artists from the, I know you did some dates with Restless Heart.
A lot of business.
Yeah.
And a lot of the acts that are in that same kind of crunch. What's up this summer? What's happening with this summer?
Really solid summer. We've had a bit of a slow spring, and we're mostly grown, not in packages. Really good, solid fair days and festivals and stuff. Like Dale said, the magic number will come to your town. Peanut festival,
A lot of food festivals.
Yeah, food.
Peanut, mullets, catfish,
Everything on a stick.
crawfish.
Which
Stick
we
fest.
absolutely have a ball. I didn't have this much fun personally.
Well, the
in
pressure's
day.
off now.
Yeah.
There's not. I mean,
Yeah, that's the way
if
to
there's
put it.
somebody at the radio, a radio knocking at the door, we don't have to let them in.
There's a little bit careful what you wish for that we definitely went through because we had a really hot song in God Bless Us and you won't put me in your magazine, put me on your TV show, interview us, let us see you at radio. And then you have a song like that and the tables are turned and they want you and there's literally a line and that's a shock to your system when he's 24/7, your time is taken, So like he said earlier, by the time we hit 98, we were just exhausted.
Well,
And we were so young when we hit, we didn't have a life. We didn't.
I tell people now it's the best time to be in Little Texas because I get to go be a rock star on the weekends and home with my family, coach my daughter's pitch softball. I mean, it's the best of both worlds, and I think you have to be driven to do this. There has to be a drive, but as you get older, your priorities and what drives you changes, and the weekend is just enough. I think last year we were out maybe 4 days away from home for 4 days was the longest that we were out, and it was it was perfect.
We were out for a month and a half without coming home on that dadgum radio tour. And
Yeah, you're gonna be out for 8 weeks. I think we would go. No, we can't do that.
It'd be hard now.
No matter what it gets you, 8 weeks.
Not so much that it's hard. I mean, we're still relatively young. We're talking like we're a bunch of but we're really not. When we started, we were the youngest ever to be signed in country music. And, heck, I think I was 22. And, we could still go there and play for 3 weeks straight, sure. I don't want to. I just don't want to. I think 4 days is about enough. Your throat gets shot, you get tired, and, just think about what else could I be doing this week. But if you keep weekends, it's fun. It's the boys getting together for a weekend trip. We go out and do our little trip and have fun, and we come home. If it's not fun, it's not worth doing. And that's one reason that we stopped in 1998. It was just not fun. The music didn't matter anymore.
How long did you actually hibernate for?
Well, we all, we were songwriters and we're in other acts and had success as songwriters. But yeah, about 4 years.
So do you each have a deal as songwriters, or?
I wrote for Charlie Daniels for 7 years. Was blessed to have some hits and cuts and everybody, on down the line.
So that's still in the works, right? You're still working with that?
That's the one aspect, I think, in Nashville that I would encourage anybody, the songwriter part, to me is just magical, and that's more difficult now than it used to be, but who knows what's coming. It's just you get equity in a copyright and gets out there, and I get, be it 25 cents, I get money from the former, Soviet Union or whatever, or China or Peru, or, it's unbelievable to get something in the pipeline that becomes worldwide. We actually got lucky enough to write with John Oates, who y'all might not even know. It's really scary, but I'm sure you know him probably. Hall and Oates, and we got just to write with John one day through our publishing company at the time. Thought we didn't even finish it. I didn't even know it was done. And the thing we're hearing.
Yeah, John called, hey, we want to do it. And we're like, we
want to do it.
Like, you mean
Hall and
we?
Oates want to do it.
Yeah, they want to do it.
And then it was going on the album for sure, and then it was a single, and it was a top 5. It was a top 5 hit on AC radio, and that thing is just global because they're so big, and it's so cool to have that. And I think I tell everybody all the time, I don't currently have a deal, but I write 2 and 3 times a week because I will not give that up. You find context, find a way to get the songs exposed, and the money's big, or has been. You never know.
The relationship between the four of you, it's gone through a lot of same kind of stuff you go through as high school friends and then end up in a band. Is there a way that you make it work? I mean, every decision you make isn't everybody agrees with it. How do you work out the personality stuff?
There's a lot of trust between the four of us. We all, like Joe said, we all have things that we do, individually. There's enough trust in that we know what we're doing. If he has a contract coming, he knows what's going to work. If there's something that's big enough that we know we need to get a sounding board and get everybody in on the phone, we go right then and there and don't mess around. We say, hey, what do you think about this? And it's just democratic at that point.
It's been delegated through Dale does booking, he just do the money and all. Dwayne does most of the publicity, all the talking to publicity people on the internet work. He works his butt off on the Facebook stuff and all that. He doesn't like computers. So if he had to do it, it would be so.
Statute of limitations hadn't ran out on me yet.
Here's the professor down here. Anytime we deal with business stuff or contracts, Dwayne takes the lead, and I don't have to do anything anymore.
No, he doesn't.
I still write a lot and record.
He's the musical side, the one that still concentrates on the set list of the show, and he's just geared that way.
Yeah.
I don't know how to put a set list together.
You think there's I mean, I hear you guys sing, and it is so contemporary. I mean, it's not anything far off from what radio. There is a place for the sound of this band. I heard one of the songs you guys did, the ballad that you did with Tina, and what's the song called?
What might have been.
What might have been. And it's absolutely a beautiful song. It's just sounded like so radio friendly. Is there still that thing in you to get back to radio? Or
I don't download the part where we do the 60 It would be nice, of course, but
Yeah.
Be great. Wouldn't that be nice? Be, on the radio with a brand new hit would be really, really cool. Wouldn't it? That would- But then again, with maturity comes that. But I don't want to sell my soul to get that hit. I don't want to give up. A lot of things that you might have to give up. The autonomy again. I mean, we'd be right back into, having to sort of be beholden to radio again, which with it its own.
We've seen other acts, in the '90s acts have radio success again, and it may boost their touring income for a season or two. But like O'Brien said, the things that you would have to give up being gone, just the things that you have to do with radio, for radio. I think we're comfortable. We're comfortable in our skin, and we like our life like it is. And as long as we can hold on to that, then it's like, well, let's never say never, of course. Let's don't bother them. Let's just let them do what they do, and we'll keep doing what we do.
right.
One of the two.
Sure.
Sort of make it live. Would you mind doing another tune?
No.
After this, I'd like to get a question from you all that are thinking about it. So think about it to see if we can come up with some good questions for us. Do another record for us.
Sure, I think about you now and then, but it's been a long, long time. I've got a good life now, I've moved on. So when you cross your mind, try not to think about what might have been, 'cause that was then. We have taken different roads. We can't go back again. There's no use giving in. There's no way to know what might have been. We could sit and talk about this all night long. Wonder why we didn't last.
might be the best days we will ever know. We'll have to leave them in the past. Try not to think about what might have been, 'cause that was then, and we have taken different roads. We can't go back again. There's no use giving in. There's no way to know what might have been. Same old look in your eyes. It's a beautiful night. I'm so tempted to stay. But too much time has gone by. We should just say goodbye. Turn and walk away. Try not to think about what might have been, 'cause that was then, and we have taken different roads. We can't go back again. There's no use giving in, and there's no way to know what might have been. No, we'll never know. What might have
How has the songwriting whole process changed for any of you individually, or maybe as a group, from when you can remember starting writing to now? Same? Do you still spend a lot of time on songs? Do you ever spend a lot of time on songs? Fast?
For me, one thing that's changed, or I hope matured, is the idea process. When you've been doing it for 20-something years, in the beginning we used to write everything, and everything sounded good, which I think is a wonderful process. I hear songs on the radio all the time I wouldn't have written that title, because I know that it's 50,000 of them in every catalog in town. So my experience sort of betrays me on that. You know, you hear the stuff that Lady L Love don't live here anymore. I've written that 2 or 3 times, you know, and I wouldn't have done it. So in that sense, it's a good thing. But for me, I enjoy, I write, it probably doesn't take as long to write each one because I'm sure of the idea. When I hear something I know, I haven't done it before, I know it's fresh, I think about how to get it done in a fresh way a lot quicker than I used to. You know? So in one way that's, you know, but still, I think the Nashville thing is that, well, one little thing's changed is I make a track now. I didn't do that 20 years ago.
Yeah,
Now when I give an idea,
I was going to
I
say we
sit
all
down.
have studios, you know, in our house now, and you know, I'm the drummer, but I'll be a one man and write. It'll take me all day to get a bass line, but eventually I do.
Especially if it's a groove, you know, with some tempo or whatever. That's a great way to stay tempo and stay on it.
This is a fair statement. I think maybe I might agree with this. We can afford to write songs that we like now. In other words, you know, I like this idea. I really like this song. You know, and we're not having to chase anything. You know, we're not having to think like, okay, no, we can't do that. Why? They'll never play it. You know, it's got to be 120 right down the middle. We need all this kind of thing. We can just let the idea go where it goes. And you know, to me, I think writing great songs is easy. It's having great thoughts that's the hard part.
Do you guys start out melodically a lot? Is it lyric based a lot? Is it half?
Half and half.
Half and half. That's probably the most asked is what comes first.
You know, but Nashville kind of based writing, we're hook based. We hear that phrase that that turn like
Oh, that could be a song. Yeah.
yeah, that could be
Like, that's why I brought my boots. We heard a lady
Yeah,
say
we're-
at one of our shows. She said, "You ready to rock a little bit?" That's why I rock my boot.
We should do
rock
it.
my boots, and we
Ding,
went.
ding, 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 ding.
Yeah, we did.
First time, just the first chorus, just to show one.
Well,
Here. So it's 4 in the morning, and we're getting off the bus. And Farmington. Anybody been to Farmington, New Mexico? Okay.
Join a band. You end up there at 4 in the morning.
The astronauts did the lunar training there, okay, to get familiar with the terrain. And so we're a bus stop. We're getting the bus filled up, so we, you get off the bus and saunter into the little diner thing. And we're all order the breakfast and whatnot, as I remember the thing, because I was half asleep. And sure enough, the wonderful central casting, love her to death. Wish I knew her name, waitress. So what you gonna have, hon? Have this, have that, have the other. Okay. Well, she brought the orders out and sets the one, I think, in front of Tim. Tim goes, "Oh, I'm sorry, I had over easy or something. This is sample." And she goes, "Oh, hon, I'm sorry. First time for everything." He went, and I went.
That's a good idea.
And and then you take that. So that's a hook. What is that? First time for everything. That's not really mind blowing, is it? No. But then hopefully you take that and you turn it into one.
In this case, what we usually do in those days, you turn it to a love situation. So, in a country sense, love gone
bad.
There's time for everything. So she said goodbye. There's not much of anything that I haven't tried to somehow get over you. There's no telling what I might do. 'Cause if I've learned anything, there's a time for everything. Yeah. If I've learned anything, there's a first time for everything.
Goes to 6.
One more question.
How do y'all feel about like Spotify, helped hurt y'all?
I think anything like that's good. I've been doing research trying to figure out how to get these new songs to things like Spotify and into internet radio stations. Just because there's really not a lot of outlet for a self-based thing. You kind of have somebody to do it for you, but I'm not about to spend money to hire somebody. I got a telephone, So yeah, I think it's great. The more stuff like that, and Pandora and everything else, just gets that stuff out there. And like you were saying, mainstream radio isn't going to touch us with a 10-foot pole. So that's really our number one way
With
to
the
get
news,
things in
with
front
the
of new
news.
listeners.
With new stuff, yeah. And something like that might be. You're
Well,
asking how.
well, you know what? It kind of depends because see, it's really not going to. It only help somebody like in our situation where we've kind of made our dent. So financially, it's not really a make or break kind of a situation for us. So whatever the pennies or the slivers of pennies that pays per play, or what is it if you play it 24 hours a day for 8,000 years?
I don't know what the rate is.
You get it, right?
I have no idea what the rate is.
But as far as an advertisement, as far as being out there and familiar, if somebody thinks of a song and they look it up, yeah,
That's
it's
right.
great. It might be more difficult for a new artist or something starting out if you're financially dependent on that. But then again, that is a way to get things out there. Get heard.
How do they do?
Scanning. We have one right here. Over at that.
Well, I have a scanner on both sides. I hope y'all enjoy yourself.
Yeah, good to see you.